Lounge. I'm your host, Jukebox. We're back with another episode of Gift Shop at the Bottom with one of my lovely co-hosts here, Evolution. Man, how you doing?
I wasn't ready for that. I'm doing good, man. It's been interesting, the journey we've been experiencing here lately. But life is good, man. I have no
Yeah,
complaints. A lot of things happening and a lot of things in the works. So I'm excited, ready to go.
good. Me too. We'll dive into that journey topic here in a second. Thomas, down here. What's up, man?
Nothing, man. It's been kind of a wild couple of weeks here, but things are smoothing out, and
Was it stressful?
it was indeed stressful. But I didn't want to jump in too fast. But,
Okay, cool.
yeah, awfully stressful. I'm sure there's plenty I could talk about. But
Yes, we'll
good
dive
to be
into it.
here, and
man.
I'm happy to talk to you guys.
Good,
Hey,
good.
happy to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man. And Corey Castle is back on JG's Lounge, man. You have had a hell of a last year or so.
Yeah, it's been crazy. The whole like moving and the whole like big moves in life and things like that. So I'm just optimistic and really wanting to do wanting to do work that's going to inspire folks and
Right.
really kind of inspire myself at the same time.
I love that. I love that. You said work. You work multiple jobs, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about the jobs specifically as much as I'm talking about the type of shows that I'm putting out, and I'm
Oh,
also a coach now at a pro wrestling school in Media, PA. So I'm like molding fundamentals into people, and like the idea of like why we do things the way we do them and the confidence that they can hold in themselves while they're doing those things.
Mm.
So
I like that.
that's just just a little bit of what the work I'm doing. But I'm saying as far as the stuff I'm doing as far as live
Yeah.
broadcasting and podcasting and streaming.
Yeah.
Word.
I got you, man. It's a lot too. Speaking of that, we were talking a little bit before you showed up on the pre-stream, as you called it, about the Journey 2. So Stan launched a documentary of his trip to the Philippines to visit his wife, and then he did a second one, which we had in our I don't know G drives for like 6-7 months now. But I lost a good chunk of his show. It was like 4 very crucial interviews that were like a very impactful aspect of the Journey 2.
Mhm.
And we lost it. Well, we being me, I lost it. And for about 2 months. And then today I finally found him. And that was stress. Talk about some stress. Evolution, what do you think, man?
Oh man, my heart sunk when you told me that you couldn't find him. Um, I just went into this mode of he's got to find them somewhere. They got to be somewhere. Please let them be somewhere. Because they were perfect. You know, it was one of those things when we recorded, it was just done in one take, and it just came out excellent. And I'm like, dude, if we try to recreate that, it's just not going to be the same. The energy and the vibe of the whole recording was just, it was on point. And I freestyled everything, So the questions, once we started the interviews, it was just all spontaneous, and it just worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I got that little bit of information from him, like, dude, you're joking, right? It's just April 1st. I was like, don't play with me. And then I realized you were serious. I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
dude.
Well, you said something today that I really liked, and which kind of inspired today's episode. You said, I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until you told me you found him.
Yeah. Yes, man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I felt a relief, like the weight on my shoulders that I didn't even realize was there just fly away. And I'm like, holy cow, that was really bothering me. It was really really stressing me to a degree that I wasn't even aware of. You know, it was one of those things like, I guess even in the back of your mind, you're not even thinking about it, but you're thinking about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's weird. It's hard to explain. I think maybe people might be able to relate to that,
Oh
depending
yeah.
on what they're dealing with.
I bet you everybody in this panel can.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So I was like, you know, and then we would talk, and then I would try to avoid bringing it up, but then you would bring it up.
What's up, Wyatt?
and
Yeah.
then,
Well,
then
it's because I don't have shame in acknowledging my failures because I
Mhm.
don't necessarily think of them as failures, more as speed bumps.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
Obstacles.
obstacles. But yeah,
But
I have no trouble talking about it. You know, like I wasn't
Mhm.
struggling to come talk to you about it. It was more of
Yeah.
like I gotta talk to him about it.
And I know at one point you even mentioned that you wanted me to reshoot, and I think that really dug deeper into the hole that was created, the open wound. And I was like, "Oh, dude, please tell me that it's got to be a digital trace
Right.
somewhere." You know, we just haven't thought of it yet. And fortunately, finally, a couple months later, we were able to
We were.
locate
Great.
him.
We're gonna
And I
get a
was like,
lot. We're gonna get that episode launched and out, man. The kicker of this, guys, is he already has the third one recorded, but we gotta finish the second one before we do the third one.
Yeah, I'm just sitting on material. That's
This
just
is the
sitting on it.
struggle of being a content creator.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you sit on top of like how proud you are of this work that you're doing and
Mhm.
this content that's coming out of you, and you feel this like artistic flow that's just coming right through you, and
Yeah.
then right after you're done to find out that work is now gone forever, and you're like, oh, that would have, that's perfect. Like I have multiple episodes of my podcast that are just lost. That I
Ooh.
wish that like they were like
Yep.
as they were going on, I was like, oh, this is the juice. I'm really squeezing the juice out of this fruit. And then it ends, and I'm like, all right, I can't wait to put that one out. Where'd it go?
Ooh.
or I forgot to hit go live, and the whole time
We're just sitting here talking
Uh,
to each other.
That's the worst. That's the
That's
worst.
the juice.
yeah. So I do. Before we get to Thomas, we're gonna turn it to you because you haven't really had too much chatting yet. But
Oh, okay.
I do want to say that this show is me making up to you, Evolution.
Oh,
Ah.
So stress,
Ah.
man, stress. So thank you. This is all for you, man. Thomas. So can you think of something relatable? Because you're not really a content creator. You love coming on as a guest and talking this
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
We've talked about it before, but you aren't necessarily a content creator. So is there?
Right.
Can you explain maybe a situation where it has a similar effect to you?
well, so like just listening to you guys talk, it just immediately made me think of so like you ever have like a girlfriend or a best friend or somebody close to you who you really hosed them on something, right? You really screwed them
Right.
over and completely involuntarily just ruined whatever you guys had going on, and or vice versa, like they really screwed something up and you're trying to hold it together, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's really really stressful because you had everything together, you were ready to go, you're ready to piece this project together, and now it's gone completely kaput, right? But like as like a friend, you also don't want to like hate this person, right? So you're like, it's that weird like dynamic of trying to hold it together for your friend who's like
Mhm.
so incredibly sorry about whatever they might have done, and you have
Uh-huh.
to be like, no, it's cool, we'll figure it out, we'll
Uh-huh.
deal with it, and inside you're just like, like screaming,
You
but you're
know-
like, no, man, don't worry about it. We've got this. Like we can
If
always
you
make
lose
more.
your-
There's
if you lose your cool about it, the friend that you lose your cool about it to is always going to remember how you lost your cool.
oh yeah. So you're just like doing your best to hold it down for the both
Right.
of you so that
Right.
they don't feel worse about it, but then you like don't have your outlet that you usually would just like, I don't know, explode or whatever. You can't yell at your buddy because
Right.
of an honest mistake, like
Mhm.
at a certain point you have to kind of compartmentalize, what this was completely accidental, and I have to understand that, but it takes a lot of like mindfulness to be able to step back and be like, look, this is not that big of a deal, in the grand scheme of life, right?
Mm.
And this is still my homie, and like I'll always have an idea for another project or whatever. Gosh, it makes it that much sweeter when it comes back to, it's like,
Right. But I think there's a lot of instances like that, dude. For real though, where people overstress something that's not like it's not worth it. But you don't know. Like, I don't know how you're feeling, or I don't know how Stan. I knew he was stressing, but I didn't know to the depth, and clearly neither did he. So it's like,
all right.
I think that stress is something that everybody endures, but I do want to kind of dive into the positives and negatives of it, because obviously I don't know if we can all agree, but I think that stress is necessary in times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in South Park, Bigger, Badder, Uncut, that movie,
Yes.
the devil said, "Without evil, there would be no good. So it must be good to be evil some way."
Right.
I like
I
it.
think that often. You wouldn't know how sweet it is if there wasn't a little bit of bitter every once in a while.
I don't even think it's bitter. Like when I think of like stress, I automatically go to like nervousness, anxiousness, things like that.
Right.
And when I think of that kind of thing, I think like a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of anxiety is a good thing, because a lot of times it means you care. Like you wouldn't be nervous, you wouldn't be anxious if you didn't like give the tiniest bit of a shit about whatever that you were involved in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
right.
like it's like that healthy amount of like nervousness or anxiety or stress that keeps you focused on your goal, and keeps like eyes on the prize as far as what you want and what drives you, what motivates you.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm gonna try to build off of what the both of you just said, and hopefully Ginger, Jukebox can.
Who's that?
I'm recapping what we
Not
were
either
talking
one
about
of us.
earlier, right? Can keep it going to the next level once I'm done. I'm gonna go with pressure, and just say like a sporting event or something that, like Thomas said, you really care about, or something that means a whole lot. Uh, I'm gonna say like a championship game and paint the picture that way. The minutes are dwindling down to seconds, and you get fouled, and you get the last two shots to try to win the game. That's a lot of stress or pressure that you're dealing with at the moment. There's a lot of people, spectators watching, and you don't want to blow it because you have to live with that. And
Yep.
championships are hard to get to, and you want to definitely focus, because without focus, you're just gonna tank. But you got to execute and remember what you practiced on for all this time up to this point, and let it go, and hopefully it goes in, and you're the champion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of the pressure or stress that I want to bring to the table, because it's a lot of that out there. May not be sports for certain people. It may be a job or interview or promotion situation that you're trying to get into, or just everyday life with the people that you deal with. Go ahead.
I want to kind of even expand on what you said, because I think that there's two types of stress on the game, or in the game, whether you're on the court or you're on the field, or if you're, in a wrestling ring or on stage doing comedy. I think there's a difference between the stress of pleasing the crowd and the stress of pleasing yourself.
Ooh.
Right?
Expectations are a huge factor in that.
Mm-hmm.
When you put the expectations on yourself, and you just kind of you put in your head that it's going to go this way, and then all of a sudden it doesn't go the way that you put in your head that it should have gone, and you're like, oh. then you automatically start going like, what's to blame for this expectation? What's to blame? I think I heard Dax Shepard say, he quoted like a AA, like a famous quote in AA, and he said, expectations are resentments yet to come.
Okay.
It's pretty genius.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Wise individual.
Yeah. Thomas, I think for you, like you've traveled a lot too. You and actually, it's funny because you and so has Evolution. But Thomas, like float trips, stuff like that. Have you ever been in charge of like piecing them together and planning them, and like things maybe didn't go the way you thought, and you're like, ugh.
Oh, I got something for that.
I mean, okay, so thankfully, my wife is a mega planner, and then my best friend through all college was also a mega planner. So I usually got to ride the coattails. But I do remember a specific scenario when we were in Indonesia, and we had rented mopeds, and we were going to this the top of this volcano to like some temple, right? And we were on two separate mopeds. It was my buddy and our friend who was in the Peace Corps, who we actually met there, and then myself on my own. And we were buzzing around, and we took a wrong turn, and we split up. And we didn't have any kind of cell service. There wasn't any way for us to like get in contact with each other. Like I literally like drove back to the last place that we stopped, and I just waited there. And I remember like my buddy was like, "Well, I'm going to go find her and come back." And I was like, "Well, then I'll really be by myself." And, and then I was like, "Well, you better come back because we'll really be screwed." And then like, and we were way, way, way away from where we were going to be staying. And but I just remember like the immense stress of that situation. Where we were in a country where we didn't speak the language. We were the only, and I was thankful for this experience, but we were the only white people for like 1,000 miles. Like,
Wow.
and I urge all white people to try this. Go somewhere where you're a complete foreigner. Go somewhere where you're a complete foreigner, and see if you can hack it, right? Because at the end of the day, we were like. It all worked out. Like she ended up coming back to where we were. It was like exactly the way we planned it, and we all met up. We all got back home safe and all that kind of jazz, right? Great, but like the experience itself was immensely stressful, and none of us freaked out. None of us like lost it, which I'm so thankful for. But I remember that being like a major issue in our trip because it lasted like several hours where we were like separated.
I think the language barrier, like we don't notice it here, obviously, but like I could only imagine like being in a world or a situation where you're the only one and nobody else understands you and you don't understand them.
Oh man.
Well, it's different than if you're in like okay, say you're in like a country that speaks like French or Spanish, a romantic language that like English is basically derived, right? Where like words are sort of similar, like you can maybe catch on to something, but not really, but like you can kind of like bustle your way through it. And like Indonesia, it's like its own complete separate language. Like there's like no relation whatsoever to English, French, Spanish.
You got some, Corey?
And it's all the way like it's like all the way on the other end of the world. Like no one. It's really like right near Australia. Like it's all the way on the other end of the world.
Yeah. I barely knew the name of our hostel. Like it's over there. I don't.
I do want to say thank you, everybody that's tuning in tonight.
Stressed out thinking about Indonesia, like my fiance, she learned how to sing in Indonesian. They flew her to Indonesia. She was there for the month of April of 2024.
Wow.
And like she was like all the biggest, like met up with all the biggest pop stars in Indonesia, and then all the big press. Everyone treated her like she was a big celebrity. But she was sending me all these videos on WhatsApp. I was talking to her every day, and she was sending me all these videos of the roads and how crazy the roads are.
There's no rules.
There's
no rules.
About how crazy those roads are.
Well, I was just talking to my wife about this actually because I remember that trip. I was a single man. Like it was just kind of like I'm looking out for me. Like, yeah, my friends are with me, but I'm really looking out for me. And anything terrible happens to me, well, I mean, yes, perhaps sad, but like also it's just me, right? Like, I remember coming home and telling my mom, like, hey, this is a trip that I would certainly do again by myself, but I would never bring like my family to do this type of trip. I would never bring like
Oh,
I
is
would
that
be
crazy, huh?
I would be terrified. I would be terrified to have like my wife with me on this trip. To have the same sword trip where you're backpacking, staying in hostels, everything on your back, like that kind of thing. It'd be different if you're in like a resort, hotel, whatever.
What do
But
you
this
got,
type of trip that we did,
Evolution? Because for you, it's a little different because you actually, you usually stay in a hotel, right? You don't stay
Yes,
with
I
your wife.
definitely stay in a hotel, and it has to be a certain type of hotel.
Like
'Cause,
tier, like a certain level.
yes, yes, not to be bougie or anything, but to be comfortable.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because
They could be the
we-
same thing.
we-
Tomato, tomato.
no. I mean, when you come from a certain environment, you know what I mean. And even though you go like far, far, far away, and it's a whole different culture, there's just certain things that I would say appreciate
Mhm.
and get used to. So that's kind of what I gravitate for when I get a hotel there. You know,
White
I
glove
want to make.
service. You
but,
want to
but,
be
you
able to put it across the cabinet and not have dust.
know, yes.
Girl, you
so,
fancy.
so,
I'm like,
so-
is that a
so-
rock and a leaf for a blanket? Cool, I'm fine. Let's go.
so
good.
my wife actually plans everything too. She's a very excellent planner. She comes up with the most amazing stuff, and she plans it, and I bring the money. Right. So the whole first
Hell yeah.
part.
Stressful.
the whole first part of the trip went perfect. Right. Everything's going smooth. Everything's flowing.
Is that the most
Then-
recent one?
Yes, and we're getting back down to the last few days, right? Getting towards like the last few days to where we're wrapping it up, and I'm getting ready to make my transition back here. So I'm getting ready to make a deposit. I mean, not a deposit, but a withdrawal from this ATM, and I have to paint the picture because ATMs here look totally different from ATMs there.
Well, you have Google Translate for now. Jeez.
No. I mean, these things like the paint's missing. The buttons aren't clear. It's like these things should have been outdated like 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And they're some of them are in really bad shape. So the better of them, I went to this one, and everything was fine. I figured it out. I'm making a withdrawal, and everything goes fine. And then when the money is supposed to come out, it makes this sound. Well, it made this sound, and it kept making this sound, and they kept making this sound, and they kept making. I was like, okay,
It lost connection. You're like, "Ugh."
no, the transaction completed, but the money never came out. So,
Ooh.
so I'm like,
It didn't come
I
out
just
right.
got stressed out, and it's already done with.
yeah, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened? What do we do now, right? And I'm like, this is the money, right? This is
Yeah.
what we need to keep doing this, and so I can get back home and everything. And I'm like, what the heck? No, this is not happening, right? but yes, it definitely was happening. And you talk about stress hitting you all at once because everybody's looking at me like, what just happened? And I'm like, I wish I knew. So I go into the bank, and they're like getting ready to close, and they're like, well, you have to contact your bank. I'm like, wait a minute, no, whoa. I was like, I'm at your bank. This is your ATM, and this is the thing that came out. Where's my money? I need my money right now. Oh, dude, you talking about trying not to blow a gasket because first of all, you're in another country, so you can't, say certain things and do certain things like you would do here and get away with it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, this is really happening. You know what I mean? So you got to like totally regroup, totally restructure your plan and try to find ways to, I guess, still do what you plan to do without what you were going to do it with. So creativity went through the roof right there, and the stress level just skyrocketed to the moon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is something. But I guess the machine was empty at the time, and
That is
And
crazy.
I'm,
That is
I'm
so
calling.
crazy.
I'm calling my bank back in the country, but the time zone is different, right? So it's like
3 a.m. here.
yeah, right. And so I'm getting the thing that just keeps rotating and rotating. It's like a recording, and it never you're waiting for somebody, but they never get there. And I'm like, oh my god, it's like AM there, you know.
Mm.
So it was absolutely one of the most stressful moments to have. Period. You know
Alright.
that's
Yeah.
like the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah. No, like I said, you have me stressing and it already happened.
Yeah, man, that was something. I'm like, I am never, ever, ever going back to that bank again.
Oh, dude. All right. So Corey, I want you to tell a story, and then I kind of want to talk about how we identify stress when we know we are, and what we do to kind of, I don't know, either level ourselves out or kind of acknowledge it and accept it. But before we get into that, Corey, do you have a story that was extremely stressful?
I don't have anything on my mind at this very moment, but if you want to do something else, let me think about it for a minute.
So I mean, the biggest thing for me, at least as far as I want to bring it to JG's Lounge, right, is my first year or so. Like Corey was one of my very first guests, one of my probably the first like top 3, but he's one of my very first one. We've been friends since. But I remember we did an audio recording on our phones, and
I'm my favorite guest on your show.
I understand.
My favorite guest you've ever had is me.
It's too good.
No bias there at all.
No bias at all.
That's hilarious.
What a comedian. But I do have to say that my first 2 years, you know, I really got in, like, I was like, I love this. So I started doing a lot of it. But then I get stuff from like popping noises from the feedback that I didn't hear while we recorded. Audio sounded like crap, but nobody said anything. Never hit go live. Like, there's so many times where I'm like, I plan something and something doesn't go right, especially with what we do. You know, you got to use Wi-Fi or computers. It can be stressful, and it's not even necessary stress.
Right.
But it is stressful. Like, I've definitely had to reach out to people and be like, look, I know you're really looking forward to coming on. I know we promoted this show for the last week, but I lost it. It's gone. We can redo it. You want to reschedule? That's always fun.
Yeah. Then you lose that organic farm to table sort of feel to the whole thing.
Right.
Like it's just kind of like too structured or too manufactured, too like phony.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and that's like, so last week, me and Evolution tried to do our show consistently and consistent. About 15 minutes in, I started buffering really bad. And sometimes it's a guest, and it's like you try to work with them, you try to make it work. There's been times where I completely went off screen, but the people in the show kept it going. So you kind of learn ways to kind of roll with it. But it can be stressful. Like, I've also overwhelmed myself. I've booked way too many people, and then like and that's a type of stress that's like, man, I feel like I'm not doing these people justice if I'm overwhelmed by booking too much and not like really investing some time into this person.
Bro,
something that makes me like kind of personally freaked out about producing my own material. So I have to think about that. I'm like, okay, I have to come up with some kind of a name and, you know, a handle to go by, and then I have to like really network myself. I have to reach out to people I don't know, possibly. Like, it all seems very uncomfortable to me. As you know, as somewhat as an introvert, it really stresses me out thinking that I would have to like reach out. I have to market myself. I have to make connections with people that I would never talk to before. And I don't know, just something about it like kind of weirds me out, which I know is like holding me back, probably a lot of people back from doing
you're
the
a great
thing.
guest on podcasts. Like, you really are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that that it has to be your thing.
But like prepping and coming up with ideas, and I don't find myself to be a terribly creative person, and like it's weird to like think that I would have to like put forth that much effort into like producing something like this.
But the outcome the outcome experience of doing a show with somebody,
Yeah.
when it does go the way that you want it to, I think almost it definitely overweighs the ones that don't do well.
Well, I get
Yeah.
super jazzed after we do a show, and then we like the next day or 2 days later, I
Talk
like,
about it, or
or I see it coming through like my feed, or I see it like whatever, and I'm like, oh shit, that's me. Like he did that.
yeah, your family. I like push you on Facebook, and your family comments on it. It's cool that
Yeah.
your family enjoys it. You know.
Yeah.
What do you
So-
got?
so
hold on, Evolution. Corey was and Thomas were both
interrupted.
trying
I'm
to.
so
No,
sorry.
you're
Yeah.
fine. You're fine.
Okay.
But I don't want Corey to lose his thought. So, Evolution, I know you write things down, so I'll let you go right after Corey.
Okay.
So I think just piggybacking off what you said was the whole idea of a lot of people going like, there's going to be this much into it and this much into it, and it's going to stop me from ever getting it started. And I think that's a lot of expectations, like the resentment yet to come. Like it's a lot of expectations that people are putting on themselves that like are realistically unrealistic. Like when you think about people go, oh, I don't want to start a podcast. There's so many podcasts out there. Like, oh, what's my voice? What's that? Like, who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for you? Then it doesn't matter how many podcasts are out there. Like, there's way more. Like, there's nobody else in the entire world who has your outlook on things, who has your perspective, who has lived your life. That can be valuable to so many individuals who listen to your podcast, whether they listen to your podcast episode that you put out yesterday or the one that you put out 5 years ago. Like the second that you put it out, think about when people use the excuse, there's so many other podcasts out there. A lot of podcasts start and only make it to like 10 episodes, if that.
Right.
Because they go, oh, well, like this isn't giving me the immediate Joe Rogan results I expected.
Right.
Because they did that thing to themselves, set up these expectations and really psych themselves out of doing the thing that they like. And this is another part of what stresses me out that other people do that I refuse to do, is make announcements about stuff. Because when you make announcements about stuff and then you find roadblocks,
That's
and
an expectation that you might not meet, you know?
Right.
I've gotten much better at not scheduling, like planning, but not actually scheduling and promoting.
Right.
Mhm.
So just like announcing stuff, like it's so frustrating to think like that you're gonna announce something and then you're gonna get frustrated when you're like, oh, I announced it and no one showed up and no one cared, and like maybe nobody cared that you even made the announcement. Like you maybe just I read in a book, Napoleon Hill. It's called Think and Grow Rich, a long time ago, and I apply this pretty much daily. Show the world what you're going, or tell the world what you're going to do, but show them first. Like, so don't go out and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Just start doing those things. Just start doing those things. Janet doesn't care.
Says, I don't care. Oh, thanks, Janet. We love you, actually.
I'd like to announce that I would care.
Evolution, what do you got, man?
I was wanting to bring the point of you were talking about shows and all that. When I design a show, like when I do That's Life with Evolution, I literally tailor my show to my guests. So I do a lot of research on my guests. They don't know it. And then I pick the topic that's going to, really gel with that person. And but right before the show, I get nervous. I get stressed because I'm like, dude, I hope this goes the way I plan it to go, or I hope it goes good. It's that stress right before you go live, or that person comes to the platform to where right before the show, I'm like, man, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to follow my plan no matter what. And then when it turns out better than expected,
Mhm.
I get that. Whew, this really went well. It went better than I could ever imagine. Rock on. Let's go to
Yeah.
the next one, right? So that's what I want to point out. You can plan for stuff. You can have all these strategic methods that you use to put something together.
Right.
But then there's that moment right before you do it. It's like, oh man, I hope I didn't forget anything. I hope I don't say the wrong thing. I hope I don't deviate from my plan.
I do kind of go. No, finish up. Go. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's
Okay. Sorry. I want to actually kind of round this whole thing, what we've all been talking about, off with
Mhm.
also social interaction.
Mm.
You know, I mean, have you ever hung out with somebody, Thomas, and you're like meeting them for the first time? There's not really anything bad going on, but it's just this awkward like vibe, like you guys just ain't clicking.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I feel this all the time. Like, I think for me, what happens is I start getting like the nervous chatterbox thing going on, right? Where like, you got like your closest of friends who, right, like come over and they sit on your couch and you don't do anything all day and you barely even talk to each other, but like you hung out and everything's great and whatever. But then like you hang out with somebody new and it's like, these awkward pauses, you feel like you have to fill the gaps. You have to like just keep talking. You have to try and bring something up. You just kind of like turn into this weird little chatterbox. And it's like, at least this is what I do, or I've found that I do. My wife does the same thing. I give her shit for it all the time. Every time she goes to my parents' house, she's blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, baby. It's cool. We can just sit here. But I do the same thing. When I'm like, like Ginger Jukebox. We've gone in like
Ginger.
I know it's catching on now. Like we went to go play like disc golf for like the first time. I don't know, like last year, 2 years ago maybe. And like I'm trying to act like a cool, fun guy, just like hang loose, like let's just get after it. Like I also enjoy these things, right? Like
Right.
But we didn't hardly know each other, like at all.
Right.
It's just like, oh, you like doing this activity, let's go do it together. And but it takes a minute to break
I
through.
don't think I'm light enough to know what disc golf is.
Oh yeah. Welcome.
I would
so
say
crazy.
I have disc golfed with an even amount of diversity within disc golf. So
you've been trying to get me to do it with you.
I would say I have the same experience. Yeah.
You would only play it Caucasianally.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry we don't. I'm sorry we don't. We don't live in the major city where we'd have to ping it off of buildings.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. Us here out in the sticks.
Yeah, I don't have fields around here.
You said it's a 300-yard shot. That's like my street sign. But yeah, no. I get that, and actually. I have had those experiences. Like, it doesn't necessarily make me uncomfortable, but it's like, especially with what we do with the content creating and having a guest on, I'm sure we can all relate to having guests that you're asking questions and they're not presenting literally anything.
Oh man, that reminds
and it totally takes this whole setup of a show that you've constructed, even if it's not scripted. Even if you're if it ain't flowing, oh, dude, it's the most awkward.
I tell you what, I had one guest. I'm not going to say their name because they were a great individual.
Is it sitting right here?
No.
He's below him actually. It's the other guy.
No, no one here. But,
I think I know who he's talking about though.
Yeah, great individual, doing some great things, and I would ask a question expecting like some type of input or response, and they were giving like one word responses, and I'm like waiting for more, and I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be tough. So I found myself like really digging deep to extend the conversation and try to reword the question, and presented in a different manner, and still I'm like, oh my goodness, this is rough.
It's just not working.
Yeah, so I had to spontaneously stretch. I mean, I was pulling from the atmosphere, dude. Anything and everything that would get the time frame that we were shooting for to get that show done. And I'm like, wow, I made it through this. I will not do.
Corey.
Yeah, I will not have that guest on again.
What do you got, Corey? I definitely know what he's talking about.
Oh man,
I just put out my 358th episode this week.
Congrats, man!
Nice.
Wow.
I think like I've had so many. I can't even count how many episodes where the guest was a wet fart. was really trying to polish a turd that I could not get this shit off. Like I had one, especially like independent wrestling egos are like weird. Like you're trying to do this in gimmick or something, and it sucks. Like whatever you're doing, it's not good. Just shoot and be real with me. I don't need the whole show of it. Like stop going. Let me tell you something, brother. And like go.
All right.
And I'm like, no, it's not a promo. This isn't in gimmick. This is all like.
I shouldn't feel threatened through my computer screen.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's a chill conversation, and you're gonna like, hopefully, on the other side of it, maybe have grown a better relationship with me. If nothing else, we're going to kind of like grow a little friendship. But like, people will be like kind of heels in the dirt, going like, this is the way it's gonna be, and really, I'm a huge advocate of the fact that the world is all gray areas. There really isn't black and white. Everything doesn't fit into this box or that box. There's so much gray in between.
No,
like
I agree.
when someone comes in with their pre ideas, their expectations of what they think it's going to be. It's kind of weird. It's like, oh, you think this is your show now? That's not how I'm steering the ship.
Well, I mean, how many? I could tell you from personal experience. I have no problem emailing people. I have no problem comment or messaging somebody on social media that I've literally never talked to in my life and be like, "Hey, I want you on the show." But what you never think about is when they come on that screen. You have never crossed paths with them. You have never even had any encounters. Like you haven't even said, hey, besides maybe exchanging a couple messages. So I have had people that, I mean, I wouldn't have even acknowledged if I was walking past them on the street. And some of them for credible reasons. But I didn't know that until we're here. We're ready to go live. And then you have to like improv. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, like it's a strange thing about like having never had a conversation with a person before is a lot of times when reaching out to a potential guest, I will send them links to episodes for them to check out and kind of get a feel for the vibe, get a vibe check, understand what they're getting themselves into. And usually that kind of disarms them a little bit. They're like,
that's what Thomas did when I invited him to go disc golfing. He's like, well, I want you to, watch this video of me.
Send your I'm going to need references. I raw dog every single one of these shows.
I actually have a different perspective. I don't tell my guests what the topic is going to be about until they're live on the show. And usually they're like, well, what's it going to be about? I can't. I'll tell you when we go live. And, they get kind of nervous. But, no, you'll be fine. Trust me. I designed this specifically for you and what you got going on. they'd be like, oh, okay. But, I do that because they don't, they can't come in with an idea of what they're going to say or how they're going to do. It's basically a conversation about something they have strong background in that relates to the masses. You know what I'm saying?
But at
So
the end of the day, is it not what we do though? Is just have conversations with people?
yeah,
But that's
absolutely.
because we are the hosts of the show,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
One reason that I like to bring Thomas back, even though like you say that you don't want like know how to go about it and approach, your vibe and your message that you do speak when you are on is very credible, and it's I don't know. I think it's referenceable for people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I try and be relatable, which is a lot often leads to like oversharing.
right.
I know a lot of things that I may say or do may not be maybe something I expected to share or do,
Mm.
but I think there's I think there's a massive amount of importance in being transparent with people
Mm.
because everybody's trying to like get along or they're eager to please or whatever, and like if you just be real, I think it's far more relatable than trying to play a character of some kind.
Mm.
I agree with that. I agree with that a
To
lot.
be in
Absolutely.
gimmick, to be in gimmick is
Yeah.
So
not entertaining.
I
as
do
much.
want to start talking about the what kind of habit or happens to you guys that you guys have noticed that helps you acknowledge that you're stressed out. Is there something that affects you, like, or is there some like for me? I know this is how I am literally every day. When I'm at
Mm.
work, when I'm not at work, this is who I am. When I'm
Mhm.
stressed, I get quiet. And
Ooh.
it's there's a reason why I get quiet is because
Mhm.
I'm a blunt person and
Mhm.
I care enough to not hurt somebody's feelings unless it's necessary.
Mm.
But when I'm stressed, the only time that I'm really in stressful situations is when I think that people are self-entitled.
Mm.
And it's not I'm not talking about just on here. In the real world, people who have no reason to think that they are more than they need to be and that I don't owe them something. But there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of people that are that way and I get quiet. And that seems to be very reflective when I look back on other like stressful situations that I've had.
Mhm.
And it's because I don't necessarily want to hurt that person's feeling, but I also know that I'm not going to say anything nice. Even if it's like self-stress, like things that I'm going like personal
Right.
life and I come to work and I still want to kind of be this guy, but I'll
Mhm.
be more quiet. Because I
Mhm.
don't want to kind of speak how I want to speak.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that, Jukebox, because I have kind of like the same response when I'm in that situation. And the reason is I'm a calm person. I speak softly, but my adrenaline kicks in so raw in those situations and I get razor sharp and straight. I mean, I could slice somebody in half with words. I'm,
Yeah, yeah.
so I tend to get quiet too and distance myself from people
Mhm.
because uh, in those moments, anybody and everybody can get it.
Right.
So I just to keep my normal character and composure and my reputation intact. I'll get quiet. I won't say anything, and if they even if somebody asks me for my response, I'm gonna have to get that to you later. I'm just
Mhm.
I need to
Right.
uh, think about it for a minute, and I'll get back to you. And then I leave the
Right.
scene because yeah, in those moments before I became aware of what can happen. Um, I crushed a lot of people's souls when I
Right.
was younger.
Dude,
So,
there have been stress. There's been this is another reason why I know that's my trigger is because I have hurt people's feelings, and
mhm,
after I said it, I'm like, I probably should have just kept my mouth shut.
mhm,
So
yeah,
I know that it's that way. What about for you,
mhm,
Corey?
It's very often that I find myself saying, do you want the truth, or do you want me to be nice?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
like,
You put that warning sign out there.
I actually I credited this the other day to me not having like a full-time living in pro wrestling, where like I could be working for the WWE or AEW or something like that, a national touring company. But sometimes when I see things that I don't like, I talk about it, and I say, hey, you're talking about this and you're talking about that and you're talking about things being fair, but then you're being unfair. If you're saying how often am I right about stuff, and then I'm witnessing you be wrong about a lot of stuff, I'm gonna not call you out on that being wrong.
So what is your trigger? What is it that makes you realize like I'm stressed out, like I need to calm down?
I think a lot of it is my method would be definitely taking some space. It's not really being quiet as much as it's like getting away from you. Like it's really like vanishing. And
is that with
really
situations too, not just people?
Sometimes it'll be like, well, the weight of this situation and the stress of this situation isn't something that's serving me and that I'd want to carry with me home, and then put it in in my daily life here. Like I don't want to bring it here. I don't want to have your yuck be my so, all right, well, let's back off. Let's back off and see how better we can service this situation with clearer heads.
I like the space idea thing though. I think I get more stressed being to myself, like kept to myself. I don't like being reserved because it feels I feel like there's a lot of weight in silence. There could be positive weight in silence. But I think that for me, I had a lot of it experienced as a kid, so I don't really enjoy it as much now. Even when I sleep, I need like fan noises. I just dead silence to me, and just being
uncomfortable.
It's an uncomfortableness to me. It really is.
I think too much. Like I've been not able to sleep at night for like the last 2 weeks. All I've been doing is thinking and thinking more, and it's been driving me nuts not being able to sleep. And I'll be lying next to Alyssa, and she's completely out, and that just makes me think more. What I used to do when I was living alone, when I was single, I would just turn a podcast on and fall asleep to the podcast. But she can't sleep through that. Or I would sleep with the TV on, watching stand-up comedy. Or my favorite thing to do was I have the Adult Swim app on my Roku, and I would put it on marathon mode for Rick and Morty, and I would just let Rick and Morty episodes play, and I'd fall asleep to that. That was my favorite thing to do, and it would help me not think too much. But now, lately, I've just been thinking too much, and I can't get myself to go to sleep.
Sorry, guys. If you guys want to play off of that, I'm talking to my kid right now.
Okay. Well, I actually have my telltale sign if I'm really stressed out is that I become a raging sarcastic douche. So telltale sign is that I'm pulling on my hair. So if you ever see my hair up Ace Ventura style, I'm probably stressed out about something.
Well, when
always
Tommy
pull
Boy,
and run on.
Yes, Tommy Boy was
exactly.
I want to jerk you.
Yeah, that's me. But I become incredibly sarcastic and real dickish. Oh yeah, don't worry, we'll take care of this. No. You sit down. Take a load off. We'll be fine. Don't worry. I'm really turn into a real jerk, blatant jerk. But for me, so taking a a lot of times it takes somebody to actually call me out for me to realize that I am being that way. Like somebody to pull me aside and be like, "Yo, are you all right? Because you're
I'm gonna
being an
step away
asshole."
for 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Okay, bye. But yeah, so
See you tomorrow.
it takes somebody to actually call me out and say, "Hey, you're being an asshole. Like, what's the deal?" And I go, "Ah, shit, man, I'm sorry. Like it's just these things, blah blah blah." And then I become far more cognizant of the fact that I am acting this way, right? But it kind of like, okay, so like this entire episode, I've been sort of thinking of. So we've been talking. I feel like we've been talking a lot about like short-term stress, right? So like the idea of like taking the final shot at a ball game, kicking the game-winning field goal. There's a deadline for some event or some project that we're trying to finish, and there's like a finish line to your stress, right? Once we hit this point, relief, right?
Right.
But like I've been thinking about the idea of like long-term stress, chronic stress, right? So like the one thing that I always think about when I think about like chronic stress is like money problems. So like money problems, there's not necessarily like an end goal. Like it's a constant struggle. It's a constant grind. Like how am I going to find out how to pay like my next bill? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to do this? Like, am I going to have enough for later on this month, whatever? And those are things that like, there's not necessarily like a final, I don't want to say final solution. That sounds terrible. I'm sorry. But, but like, you know what I mean? Like there's a resolution of some kind in sight. You just have to reach that point and then you'll find relief. With something like money problems, something like, maybe a family member is sick, maybe like a parent has Alzheimer's or something like that. Like this is an extended, long-term, ongoing stressor. And that like affects people so much differently, I think. Right. It's like whether you're losing sleep, whether you're, your mind is becoming foggy over because of the duration of this situation. Like, can you guys speak on that at all, or do you have any examples of that?
Absolutely, man.
I want to throw this in there just real quick, and I'll let you add on it. I know I stepped away in this, but I do want to say, initially I was going to have this wrap up with overcoming it. But I kind of just want to leave it with the fact that everybody experiences stress. We're talking about it. And, that's all I want to throw in there. Before.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the party.
The biggest thing to remember when you're stressed out that you're
come
not
on
alone.
in. Yeah, come on to the stress house, guys. We're all here.
Gang.
So Thomas is bringing to the forefront long-term stress. And one situation just jumped right to the beginning of the list of my examples, and that's the day I was in court and the judge said that I had residential custody of my kids. That is a great situation and a great result, but dude, my stress levels just went all over the place.
Mean knowing that you had to be mommy and the daddy?
Yeah, man, because I had to literally
huge role to play.
Instantly just start creating a plan, it's boom, it's right here, boom, you got them. And dude, I had to think about daycare. I had to think about transportation to and from school. I had to think about me working while,
years long, right?
Yeah, man.
This is foreseeable future.
I didn't even think about this, but you and I are the only two parents. The other two are not parents. So,
yeah, man. So you're talking about a super boulder of stress being dropped on you instantly, and it wasn't just like for that moment. Like you get like something, you get some news, and like, holy cow, you freak out for a second, and then you calm down. No, this was consistent. Every single day, I'm like, dude, I got to think about breakfast, lunch, dinner. I got to think about grocery shopping. I got to think about transportation here and there,
School, healthcare.
Yeah, man. My boys wanted to be active in sports. I'm like, dude, every single minute of the day I had to play it, what I'm saying, instantly like that. So it's like, holy cow. And that went on for like 12 years almost, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I got better at it. And it was days I felt more confident,
Hmm.
and it was days that I felt great. But the majority of those days, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah, so I
Corey, were you
definitely.
wanting to say something?
Yeah, man. I mean, the long term, honestly, it just starts hitting me recently where I realized that a lot of this damage that I've got, I was born and raised poor white trash, and like and like my father was poor white trash, my grandfather was poor white trash, my uncles and my aunts are all poor white trash. I'm trying to break cycles here.
Hmm.
But I think also inside of that generational
I
things,
wouldn't. I would not call you that by any means, based off the experiences that I've had with you. So there's that.
right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to break cycles. Like, so I'm looking at like my on both sides, on my dad's side and my mom's side. My dad's brother lives in his sister's house. My mom's brother lives in his sister's house. Like, there is just codependent enmeshment in this generational trauma that like I'm just now at 41 starting to escape it, and
Hmm.
it's gonna be a struggle, and it's gonna be hard, and it's not my favorite. I'm gonna tell you this. So, like, considering
Okay.
growing up poor, I was also not the smartest. I was not very intelligent. I was a sped kid. I was in all the special classes. So you wouldn't know it by talking to me now because you might think I'm intelligent now. But when I was a young kid,
I used to think you were intelligent.
you think you were intelligent. Not now that you said all that stuff. But when I was a kid, I didn't know that ends meet meant to make ends meet with each other. I thought it was just like a fancy dish that rich people ate.
Ends meet.
Where I- like,
We're making ends meet tonight,
so
baby.
poor we can't
Like-
even
like
make
burn
ends
in?
meet. First time I went to a fancy restaurant, I was like, "Where's the ends meet on the menu? Is it a special menu? I have to ask specifically for the ends meet. What kind of fancy restaurant is this? You guys don't even have ends meet."
That's good.
My mom's been cooking up ends meet all week.
Oh,
man.
It was the little pinched edge of a hot dog.
Share it with your brother.
Right?
So I do want to kind of do some final thoughts, and I want to go around the room. But I do want to say that, like I said, I started the show off thinking I wanted to structure it kind of in steps.
Mhm.
But I think that just acknowledging that we can all understand that we all have experienced stress and we all experience it different ways, but at the same time, they do relate. Like
Mhm.
we've all kind of, three of us have talked about shows, and then you two have talked about traveling, but like there's stress in everything, and I think that there's just the acknowledgement of what's worthy of being stressed about, and what's just something you got to ride out. I mean, because
Mm.
at the end of the day, if you're stressed all the time, how are you gonna enjoy life, right?
Mm.
Evolution, what you got, man?
Well, I mean, no doubt everybody's experiencing stress one way or the other. But I want to highlight the people whose life is like beyond the norm stress levels. They're dealing with like extreme situations. Just find a way to relieve that stress or deal with it to where it doesn't cause you to be sick or worse. Um, you know, there's good stress. There's mid-level stress, and then there's intense stress. Like when people are in extreme situations, that could be just about anything. I think Thomas mentioned a sick individual in the family or something like that, or bad relationship, you know, so on and so forth. But I just think people need to acknowledge, first of all, that they are stressing because it's a silent killer for sure. And then don't be afraid to ask for help or go to sources that are out there that can help you relieve the tension and the stress and find a better path or a better way to deal with it. Um, I just think that today there's really no excuse for anybody to be in any scenario with all the resources that are out there. You know what I mean? You just have to be real with yourself, like Thomas said, and acknowledge where you're at and say, hey, you know what? If I got to humble myself to do this, I'm in this place and it can help me get to a better place, then this is what I got to do. You know, there's nothing wrong with asking for help and seeking resources that are out there to help you. That's what I got.
Right. I do think that when you said positive stress, right? Stress about needing a vehicle. Like I need transportation. How am I going to give it to my job? Then you get a vehicle and you're like, now I got a bill. But I think that that's a positive stress. Even though it's stressful to pay those bills, it's a positive one to have. At least you have it. At least you have a vehicle. Corey, what you got?
This is a new thing for me, honestly. Talk to somebody. Have an outlet. Don't just bottle your stuff up and not talk to somebody. Like I always thought, and I think we all did at some point, thought that like being a man was just dealing with your stuff silently and not talking to somebody. There's somebody there to talk to. I just started doing that. Just yesterday was the first time I talked to somebody outside of my usual, family or Alyssa, talking about like what's actually going on with me. And I think that I mean, besides somebody professionally, and I have an appointment to meet a therapist on Thursday, like a meeting with a new therapist and things like that. Like you got to think about like also discernment is important. Pick your battles. Pick what you're gonna get. Pick what you're gonna get stressed out about, and what's worth getting stressed out about. What's worth losing your cool about. Like, what's the trickle? What's the ever widening circles of the pebble that is this frustration at this moment?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say like just try to think about like your past and what's served you so far and what has not served you, and decide maybe to steer on the side of decisions that serve you better than the ones that have negative long-term effects.
A lot of what you said I can relate with, so I like that. Thank you.
That's the cheap way out, man. Come on, Jukebox. Dig deep, brother.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing on the inside. I don't want everybody to see me. Like, I'm just gonna go look for some ends. I'm gonna go look for some ends meat real quick. Hold on.
Oh, we got some in the freezer.
What do you got, Thomas?
Okay. I want people to know that it is incredibly likely that your situation is not unique. Okay, and I don't mean that to sound rude, but what I mean by that is that all too often, I know I'm guilty of this too. I see people who I went to high school with, college with, and I see them on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they're posting about all these wonderful things that they got going on. Oh, we just did this. Oh, we just did that. We traveled here. We traveled there. We have all these wonderful things happening. I promise you, you always try and size yourself up to these other people, and you wonder, like, why am I not doing that stuff? Why is my life not as exciting as that? Why am I failing in some way? I promise you, like 90% of it is bullshit. Okay, like they're probably drowning in debt. They're probably faking whatever they're doing. They're probably putting on in some capacity to make themselves feel as if their life has meaning. So your situation is not unique. Okay, like all four of us have given several examples of just like crazy things that are happening in our lives every single day, or that we've gone through, and that your experience, if you're having a really shitty time right now, I promise you somebody else is also having equally shitty time,
or worse.
or worse. I know there's outliers out there that are really are in bad situations, and I hope you find the help you need or the resources you need. But overall, I want to make sure that people know that like you truly are not alone. Like, and you half the time you don't realize it until you like make mention of it to even like a close friend or whatever, and they go, "Oh, dude, let me tell you about what's going on with me right now." And you're like, like, thank God your life is shitty right now too, because I was struggling.
You know what? I just met this redneck guy the other day.
This white trash fella.
Poor white trash guy over here. You have no idea. Yours is bad. This guy.
Yeah, we're all going through it, man. We're all going through it.
Absolutely.
I was using this opener for a little while, and I just recently stopped using it. But I was saying, can we all agree that we're gonna stop comparing ourselves to other people?
Oh,
like
God.
You see somebody going like, "Oh, well, I just got this car, I got this house, and I'm marrying this beautiful person." But then I look at it this way. Birds, they got the entire sky. Some of them still get hit by cars. Not everybody's got it all figured out.
That's awesome.
That's so true. That's so true. I do want to thank all of you for hanging out tonight. This is episode 2 of Gift Shop at the Bottom. Just for everybody to kind of understand the show concept, it's all about mental health, and it's all about the fact that we've all been through some shit. And when we dive, we go to the gift shop and we come back with souvenirs, stress relievers that we might have told you about that you might be able to utilize, battle scars because we had these traumatic experiences. This bongo guy over here. You know what, Corey? Hit the bongo, man.
Keep hitting your drum. Be consistent. Show up.
There you go.
No one can take that from you.
That's right. I love it. Evolution, Thomas, and Corey Castle. Thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. This was great. I really enjoyed it. Glad I could be a part of it.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. I'll dive into whatever you want anytime you want to. I got a lot to say.
One final question. Do you think if Mr. T was British, it would be spelled TEA?
Certainly hope so. Mr. T.
Mr. T.
I pity the food.
Do you have any cream? All right, hey guys, with that, you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Take care.
That was good. What do you guys think?
We're still live.
It's over. It's done now.
It still says it's live in this county.
What?
Oh, it didn't end.
See? Told you.
End stream call failed and the stream is still active. Why is he doing that?
Bye-bye.
It's not over yet. It's not over
It's
yet.
not over yet.
There's
Why is
more
it
to
ending?
talk
That's
about.
crazy.
It's that same stress all over again.
You know what? We're just gonna drop people off. That's what we're gonna do because for some reason it's not working. All right.
Bye-bye.
The show must go
Bye-bye.
on. The show must
That's right.
go on.
It doesn't want us to end yet. Sorry, guys. Maybe if I
Maybe if the host leaves,
Right?
I don't think that did it. Tick tock.
We're still
tick tock,
going.
tick
We're
tock.
still going.
Well, it's nice to see you, fellas.
yeah, good
Same
hanging.
here.
Yeah, man. I've been having a great
Good
time.
hang.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys being here.
Well, he's back.
Oh.
Hey, guess what? Jukebox is still going. We're still rolling.